too. They let them through. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
America! If you are smart enough, you will know who I am. But you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're gonna know who I am. Very easy.
Wow, very easy. The entitlement.
No, believe me, I'm much better than that.
The entitlement, guys. Wow.
So for those of you who have been following me for quite some time, you guys know I talk a lot about human behavior and a lot of topics just involving psychology. Now, I'm a veteran of the United States Army and I'm a Afghanistan war veteran as well. I love this country, no question about it. And I hate to see things like this happen where we allow this country as a whole, the powers that be, allow people to just come in this country freely and it be taken as a joke and a mockery. And even for the people who come in to commit the crimes, make fun of the foundational Americans who built this country and just take it as a joke and then being rewarded for coming into the country illegally. Not to say that people aren't being deported, which that's another line of funding just for that process in itself. But now with this whole migrant crisis that we're seeing a lot more in cities like New York, Chicago, LA has always been an issue due to the proximity, as well as Texas. You have El Paso down there near the border. But these things in particular, you have a lot of people speaking out in reference to this and saying that this is being allowed to happen for the economy, even help out the economy for those who have small businesses who may be hiring illegals. So that whole thing in the past in terms of, I believe it was the Mexican president at the time who said that Mexicans come in and do jobs for the Americans who don't want to do the jobs, which is a whole different conversation in itself as well. But I'm gonna play a few clips here, guys, because whether you're a Trump supporter or not, let's not forget that Obama deported a ton of people as well. So something needs to be done because a lot of these guys aren't being vetted properly. We're just letting anybody in the country at this point. So let's play some clips here. I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts on it. Let's go.
Why is the borders open though? Because the United States is in a real tough pickle right now. My generation, we worked hard. I worked for Verizon. But my kids, your generation, y'all not going to do sanitation work, pick up garbage. Y'all not going to be postal workers. Y'all not going to be electricians. You're not going to be plumbers. You're not going to do constructions. Y'all starting podcasts. Y'all thinking about other ways of making money. What does that mean if these jobs are not being filled? They create programs for the migrants where they're giving them rent. They're giving them money. In Chicago, they have a program where they give them $9,000 every 6 months. So that's $18,000 a year for rent. That's an average of about $1,500 to $1,300 a month. That's good rent for somebody, right? So now they living in all these places. Your generation, your kids, y'all are not buying houses, bro. So you know what that is? Y'all not getting mortgages. United States needs people to get mortgages. Y'all are not going to college no more. Y'all not creating college debt. United States needs college debt. Y'all are entrepreneurs. Y'all are not joining the military. The military is depleted. That's why they're having things like proxy wars, where they got the drones dropping bombs because they don't have enough military. Y'all are not doing the things that I did, my grandparents did when they came here. So they bringing in millions of new people who are going to do these things.
No, I guess there's a perspective from certain people who may agree with his. I don't necessarily agree with him. I know there are people who are working these jobs. A lot of these entrepreneurs who have these construction companies and other things of that nature, they are hiring illegals. A lot of restaurants are hiring illegals. That's just what it is. It's not that people don't want to do the jobs. It's just what you're willing to pay people, especially to live in the United States. That's something altogether. So I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he's saying. Obviously, we need mortgages. You have things like that. But all this stuff is controlled by the government at the end of the day. You're letting people in. You're allowing people to do certain things. You're making concessions for people who aren't even citizens. You're giving them subsidies that even Americans don't even get for just being here. Because I've heard people from other countries say that Americans don't take advantage of their social security number. You know how hard it is to get citizenship or a social security number. And then you come in and you talk trash about the people that are here. Not everybody's like that. There's people that's getting money. So I think that foolishness, that line of thinking, you guys need to quit with all that. I got another clip here from this lady. Let's go ahead and play it.
They brought them here and put them in the hood because they want us to fight each other. And by us, I mean us. I just got a phone call from a homegirl and she's talking to me about the immigrants that are now in the hood and how they are now creating gangs. And think about it, they put them in all the hoods around the U.S. and all the democratic states where all the black people and brown people live. Here I was thinking that they were being brought here so they can fight Americans, but really they're being brought here so they can create chaos in the black and brown neighborhoods. I'm originally from right outside of Chicago, and my homegirl's in Chicago now, and she said they are hanging out on every street corner all through our old neighborhood. And once they start committing all these crimes, they're going to get arrested, and then they're going to be used for the slave labor in these big prisons. That's why they're creating cop cities. They all have this planned out completely. I think we're going to see a major outburst in criminal activity, and we're going to be...
She didn't finish that, but that is something to think about. Somebody can say that's a conspiracy. A lot of these things are conspiracy theories that people are coming up with in reference to this. Listen, if you are one of these folks, because this is Chicago and New York are in the news as of late with this migrant crisis, if you will. And specifically, as far as students, they're turning schools into shelters. Kids can't even practice anymore at these locations that they usually would practice at. I believe Mayor Adams in New York City, he's giving out or proposes to give out $12 a day per person, which is something ridiculous that the average person, the average U.S. citizen can't get. We got a homeless problem just overall, but this money is freely being given out. And people like 50 Cent, who was a New Yorker, was critical of this. And Mayor Adams was like, well, I can explain it to you and all this stuff like that. The right to shelter, which is another thing. This is what makes the U.S. great, but other countries aren't so gracious when it comes to foreigners. It said $4.6 billion is needed, but at the same time, you can't get reparations or free education or free college. I don't know. You can say, well, you can run for office or pick certain people and things like that. That's a whole different conversation, but I'm going to get into Tariq Nasheed, where he sits down and he talks about the whole reason why this is being allowed to happen. Let's get into that clip. Let's go.
Do you feel like mass immigration is now an issue, and why?
It's an issue because they're using mass immigration specifically to undermine foundation of Black Americans. And this is a tactic that they've always used, even after slavery, when they saw the freedmen doing so well. When we got out of slavery, we cut our literacy rate in half. We started getting businesses. We got the Freedmen's Bank, and we were putting millions of dollars in the bank. So they were monitoring the progress of foundational Black Americans. And they said, hey, wait a minute. These folks will eventually take over because they have all the skills. They know how to work the agrarian culture. These people are doing their thing, so we need to slow that down. So they opened the floodgates with immigration. That's when the immigration started happening, 1880s, right after slavery. And they started bringing all of these European immigrants here, and they started opening up the western frontier to give them free land with the Homestead Act. Black people couldn't get access to that. So they gave a lot of European immigrants a free ride over here.
Absolutely.
Just to undermine us. They're doing the same thing now. We're becoming more politically sophisticated as Black people. Of course. Now we're not voting for no Popeye's chicken no more. We're like, hey, we're going to have to get something tangible for our vote. They're like, okay, you hold your beer. Here's a bunch of immigrants. Venezuela, everybody come over. So now they're flooding Black neighborhoods with all of these people who are not being vetted. And now there's a pushback. Now they're talking about they might need to close the border because now the dominant society is saying, hey, wait, enough is enough. So if you're going to bring people over, it has to be done in a proper perspective. If you're just opening up the floodgates, they're letting all types of criminals from South America come in here. They're doing all types of weird stuff. So there's pushback, and rightfully so.
Now, do you feel...
Very interesting. We know here in America what it was built on, and people are critical of Black Americans and specifically foundational Black Americans, or as some would say, descendants of slaves. And obviously you're going to get everything last as opposed to everyone else. And that's an issue that many Black people have and are very critical about the government in reference to everyone else gets concessions, everyone else gets attention from the government, but Black people are just like, regardless of what you did to undermine it. But these are different opinions from different people. I know no one can really be happy. You can, from a humanitarian standpoint, you can say, well, it's the right thing to do, but you can't come into someone's country illegally. That's why people have countries. That's why people have things in place. If it was a free-for-all everywhere, you wouldn't really have a country or government unless you have certain rules in place, certain laws in place to prevent crime and things like that, to contribute to your society, to make it solid, whole, to have an infrastructure. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think about all this. Comment below. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Much blessings and abundance. Stick around for the next video that's going to pop up on the screen below. That's where I'm going to see you guys at. It's your favorite everything. Listen, I'm the best. Don't ever get it confused, man. I'm out of here. Peace.